Hi, this is Denise Matthew, and welcome to episode 25 of the Mandala of Life, 365 Days to Self-Discovery. Today we're moving away from abstract collective energy into tribal energy, from having experiences and sharing them with the collective to a focus that is solely based on how we support ourselves and how we survive. The Gate 45 is entitled Leadership. This is the leader that shows the way to find the resources. This is the voice of the people. This is business energy and the material abundance that we need to survive as a human race. Last week we talked about the Gate 35, what we might consider the voice of experience, where it's all about the experiences we have as a human race and how we pass them on to future generations. Now we're moving into the Gate 45, which is another throat gate, which talks to manifestation of abundance and material needs that we all have. But before we get into new content, let's quickly go over what we talked about last time. In our last episode, we talked about the Gate 35 and how it's experiential energy, and also that it's like a mirror to the Gate 16, which talks about a talent for skills. The Gate 35 is a talent for experiences. It's a culmination point for all the energy for experiences that we have in life. The Gate 35 is half of a manifestation channel of 3536 that brings the solar plexus directly to the throat. What that means is it's powerful emotional energy that can bring things into form. It's about being in the experiences of our life and fully being present in that moment. So later when the experience is over, we can decide what it meant for us. It's about carrying on the information and the things that we've done in our lives to future generations. This is how we evolve as a human race. This is experiential energy that's all about concretizing it or bringing it into the collective so that other people can benefit from what we've learned. And though not all experiences will go to plan, there is always something to learn within the energy of each experience that we have in our life. As long as we go in with an open mind and no expectations, this is an energy that can take us to the places that we need to go to progress through our lives, learning as we go. This can be one and done energy, and you never have to go back to it again. And if you want to find out more about the Gate 35, please check out episode 24 of the Mandala of Life. With that said, let's talk about today's content, the Gate 45, the Gate of the Gathering. And don't forget to check out the other episodes of the Mandala of Life. The Gate 45 is the seventh gate of the Quarter of Civilization. It's also a throat gate and has a big part to play in how the tribal energy get their resources, because it's half of the channel 2145, which brings the will center directly to the throat, and it's the only way the tribe actually have access to the throat. So it's a pretty important energy that we're talking about today. The Gate 45 is a voice of entitled leadership, and it's all about resources and abundance. There's no getting around it. This energy does talk to the idea of money, business, getting resources, as well as education. Because the way society is set up, many times when we have more education, we have more opportunities for jobs that will pay us more in the future. This is one more manifesting channel, which means that it brings a motor directly to the throat. When we have a motor that goes directly to the throat, the theory in human design is that we are able to manifest things because it brings powerful energy directly to the throat. Here it's the will center that goes directly to the throat. This is true willpower when you have the full channel. The throat center in human design is all about manifestation into the real world. When we speak the things that we want to bring into the world, that gives it power. And so because of that, the throat center is considered a pretty important center. And it's all about getting energy to the throat to make things happen. And when we have a manifesting channel that goes directly to the throat, that means that we have that opportunity to push that energy up to the throat, to make things happen, to bring things into what we would call the material world, or the Maya. The one thing to notice about tribal energy is that there are fewer channels. If we look at collective energy and also individual energy, you'll see a lot more channels and a lot more ability to get energy to the throat. But with tribal energy, there's only one channel, and that's the 2145. If you notice as well, many channels come off the will center. So there's a lot of focus with tribal energy about abundance and all the things that the will center bring to us. The will center can talk about willpower, but it generally talks about bringing resources, money, support, all those types of things that we need to survive as a human race. The interesting thing about the channel 4521 is that unlike most channels that have more balance within the energy when they're together as opposed to having a hanging gate, the 4521 is a little bit different because the energy of the two gates is quite different in how it expresses itself. If we use an old analogy, we could talk about the gate 45 as being the king or queen and that kind of regal energy, and then the gate 21 would be the treasurer. So somebody takes care of the money, that would be the gate 21, the treasurer, and the gate 45 is the voice of the people, who takes care of the people, who supports the people, who makes sure that all the people have what they need, but they're not actually out there doing the work. Instead, they're delegating and they're telling people how to do what they want them to do. So there is this delegation or this feeling of being regal, or this idea that you have this aura of leadership about you and people will oftentimes want to put you in charge. When you have the full channel, there's a push and pull because the gate 45 is all about this delegation of energy and delegation of orders and telling people what they should do, but you also have the energy of the gate 21, which is all about making those orders happen. So it's difficult sometimes to have this regal approach about you because you also have this treasurer approach about you. And so sometimes when you have this energy, it can take some time for you to start to work the energy so it benefits you the best. And some people who have the full channel can sometimes have issues with resources or abundance or money management or those types of things in the beginning because they have to learn how to work with this energy so it serves them the best. Ra-Uru said that the 2145 was an energy that worked better in electromagnetic as opposed to having a full channel. But that doesn't mean that if you have the full channel, there isn't any hope. There's lots of hope. There's potential for big manifestation of the things that you want in your life. But as long as you know that your energy works in a specific way, maybe sometimes you'll need to use more of the 45 energy and maybe sometimes you'll need to use more of the 21 energy. You'll be able to find the balance that works for you. And when you do, the manifestation may come very easy to you. So now that we know how the channel operates, let's talk about the gate 45 as a hanging gate. All throat gates have some form of expression of their energy. And here it says, I have, or we have. This is entitled leadership. And when we talk about entitled leadership, it's leadership that's given to you because you have a particular aura about you that says that you're a good leader. Now, this can be true or not true based on where you are in your life. As a young person, you may not have had the leadership skills that people thought you did. And because of that, you may have been forced into leadership or felt you were forced into leadership, only not to be able to come through as you had hoped and maybe your followers had hoped. Which means that for some people, there can be a reticence of actually being a leader. And maybe you've been in a leadership position before and it didn't actually work out like you want it to. And because of that, you're kind of quiet and you don't like to be in a leadership role, even if people want you to be there. The opposite side of this energy can be to be very dominant in your leadership, to tell everybody exactly what you want them to do. And sometimes there can be this need to have so much to yourself that you don't want to share. So it's a leadership that's based on the idea that you just want to take and not necessarily give back to the people who are supporting you in your leadership. The key with the energy is that tribal energy, it's always about a two-way energy where we are getting and we are also giving. If it's one-sided, that's when usually the leadership will fail. So if we think about the gate 45 being the only voice or the only throat gate for the whole tribal energy, then that means it's extremely important. And what it also means is that there's a lot more power in this energy to have people follow you because it is a throat gate for the tribe. It is tribal energy at its highest level because it has access to the throat to talk about exactly what you want to do to bring more abundance, more resources into the world. Business is very common when you have this energy. So a lot of people in the business world have this energy, and many people who are in leadership roles have this energy. As we said before, there's potential to be a beneficial leader or potential to be a leader that is all about themselves and not really helping their people. The whole point of the benefits here is to make sure that the tribe get the benefits that will make them a stronger tribe. And usually that comes to the idea of education. So the gate 45 can talk a lot about education and educating people so that they're more prepared or They have sort of a leg up so that they're ahead of the other tribes, you could say. So that's why we talk about education being part of this energy as much as it is about resources. Education can be considered a resource in the world that we live in, because the more education that you have, potentially, that can lead to more opportunities in life and more opportunities in the future for making more money. So, as a leader with the Gate 45, it is about what you're bringing to the tribe to make them better. What kind of things can you tell them, or what kind of information can you give them? What kind of energy can you give the tribe that will make them stronger? And when that happens, that's when it's a two-way street, and you're giving something and you're also getting something. Because when a leader is put in a leadership position and they're actually doing what they're meant to do, and they're doing a good job of supporting the people and making sure that everybody has what they need, because ultimately anything about tribal energy is really about, do we have enough food? Do we have enough resources? Do we have shelter? Do we have a home? Do we have support that we need? And it's the most mundane things in life that we need to survive as humans. And if we don't have them, they're just as important as anything else. This is business world energy. And if we look at the world and how the world is run, a lot of people talk about big money. And that is the tribal energy that says, if we are to have an existence on this earth, on this earthly plane, on this Maya, we need to have resources, support, money, and all those types of things. So tribal energy is a big theme in the world right now. And that's something that Ra Uru said will shift in 2027. So it will not be as tribal heavy, based on what he said. We will see how it works out in the future. Sometimes there is also potential to, when you have a hanging gate 45, to want the finer things in life, which is fine as it is, but sometimes the finances to actually have the finer things are not necessarily there. And when that happens, there can be a feeling that you're lacking in some way, because the leadership and the entitled energy is actually hardwired into you. And so it does make sense that these types of things are things that you will like to have, things that you want to have, because that's part of the energy, to have the finer things in life, to be well cared for, and also to be a beneficial leader. So if that's not actually happening in your life, that can sometimes cause issues with finances and those types of things. And if that's the case, a lot of times having a financial planner can help a lot to get you back on track with your finances. It doesn't mean that you can't have the finer things in life, but sometimes it just means that it's better to wait for the finances to catch up to the energy that you want to spend. And when that happens, then you have the benefits of having the nice things, as well as having a bank account that isn't completely depleted. Prime example of tribal leadership and a government that was talking about the idea of people being cared for if you've sort of voted for them was back in 1928. There was a political ad that talked about a chicken for every pot. And that really does speak to the tribal energy. It speaks to the idea that we all need to eat and we all want to have some food in our stomach, and that's part of being human. And that talks to the tribal leadership. Some people out in the world who have the energy of the Gate 45 as a hanging gate, or have the whole channel, are Eckhart Tolle. And he does have a regal way about him that he kind of demands respect, but he never demands it. It just kind of, people just give it to him. They're happy to listen to him. And he just kind of does his unassuming way of expressing how he feels to people, or just talking about the things that he wants to get across. And people just want to listen to what he has to say. Like Kim Kardashian, who is very influential and people want to listen to her, and she comes across with this sort of entitled energy that some people actually love and other people don't like at all. So it really does talk to this idea that we are hardwired and connected to certain people, and based on our own body graph, we might gravitate to certain leaders and like leaders because they have certain things that we like about them. And so if we can see that we all have this hardwiring that kind of decides within us who we are attracted to and who we're not, then it's easier to understand how we have these different people and different perspectives. And it's a nice way to look at it in that we can all be together. And one more person that I want to mention that I think is kind of interesting, who has a hanging gate 45, who is very influential in the writing world or the fiction world, is Stephen King. And isn't it interesting how his last name is King? Tribal energy is very prevalent in the world that we live in because it does speak to survival. And when the needs of the people are not met, or they don't have enough food to eat, or they don't have a place to live, or those types of things, these kind of themes become very important. And tribal leadership becomes very important, which means that the power of the Gate 45 is influential. And it's something that we'll see all over the world, no matter where you go in life. There's potential to be an influential leader who is entitled but also beneficial to your people. The kind of leader that takes care of everybody but also gets taken care of. And when that happens, there's balance in this leadership and everybody can benefit. And it really talks to the idea of the highest expression of this energy. And when the mandala of life spins again, we move back into our individuality and into the Gate 12, which is half of the channel 1222, another manifestation channel that brings the solar plexus directly to the throat. There's energy to talk or not talk, to be articulate or not. This is a voice of I will try to be social or not, because it is one of the alone gates, and talks to the idea of honoring exactly where you are in the moment. There is powerful individuality, creativity, and a potential for musical talent, but only if you're in the mood. Well, that's all for now, and join me next week for episode 26 and the Gate 12, the Gate of Caution or the Gate of Standstill. Until then, take care, and I'll see you again soon.